Hello, 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 family. Welcome back to Pearls in the Seat. I am Pearl, and please have a seat. Now, I don't want to waste too much time into getting right into the movie that I had the pleasure of reviewing, but I would like for you to have a seat. So, pull up a seat, a comfortable chair, or sit on the couch, love seat, however you are comfortable, so that you can listen to what I have to tell you about God's compass. Now, it's a movie that came out a while ago, but this is my take on how I see God's compass. It's a very good movie. It's faith-based. All the movies I review are faith-based, and that's what really grabs my attention, is that it has a message about God in it. Okay? So, I'm going to start by telling you that a farewell speech was given by Miss Suzanne Waters, which is played by Karen Abercrombie. Karen Abercrombie. I have a hard time saying her last name. Karen Abercrombie. As she was leaving her words of wisdom with the school that she has devoted so many years to, her dearly beloved Jessica Waters, played by Giselle Foster, was recording her mother-in-law's farewell speech. Okay. So Jessica Waters played by Giselle Foster. Jessica Waters is played by Giselle Foster. And so she was recording her mother-in-law farewell speech, which is Miss Waters for Jessica's husband, which is also Miss Waters' son. And his name is David, played by T.C. Stallings. His name is David, and he is played by T.C. Stallings. Which is also Jessica's husband. So he unfortunately was not able to be at the special event due to his job because he's a doctor. So one nugget word of wisdom that Miss Waters was leaving the audience was, she said, God has plans for you. Don't waste tomorrows you have chasing what doesn't matter. Arguments when it really doesn't matter. Priorities that no longer matter. Now, that's words of wisdom, because you don't hear people say anything like that on the regular. So if I had been out in the audience, I would have been listening and sitting on the edge of my seat trying to hear what she was about to say as she was about to take her seat. But it means a lot. So as Miss Waters was giving her speech, as she was giving her farewell speech, her son David got called away to a medical emergency. So he had to hurry up and, click off because, like I said, Jessica was recording the ceremony for him. So he had to hurry up and click off and go to the medical emergency. So, Principal Carr, she is played by Erin Bethea. She was giving the accolades to Miss Waters and just saying how valuable Miss Waters was to South Pine High School. Her daughter-in-law, Jessica, was sitting on stage with Miss Waters. And so Jessica, she reached over to Miss Waters. She grabbed her hand and she said, "I'm so sorry that David's not here." So she was apologizing for her husband not being there, like I said, which is also Miss Waters' son. So Jessica is about 8 months pregnant, between 8 and 9 months pregnant. Because the way that baby was sitting up, she was after 8 months pregnant. And she was at this event, like I said, without her husband. She was this far along in her pregnancy without her husband. Anyway, Miss Waters reassured Jessica and let her know that it was okay that David was not there at the ceremony. And she was like, not to worry. Don't worry about it. I understand, he has his job he has to do because he's a doctor. So she reassured Jessica, which was very sweet. So Miss Waters and Jessica, they went their separate ways after the event. And so after the event, Jessica is going into pre-labor / the labor stage as she was driving home. Now, mind you, the weather was not good. It was raining, probably was cold. She couldn't see. And that rain was pretty heavy. Sometimes it rains so hard to where it looked like it's raining a sheet of rain. It was just that heavy. And so Jessica, she is in pain. the baby moving. She trying to focus on the traffic, but at the same time, she was also trying to find her phone. So she emptied out the contents that was in her purse, and she, she emptied out everything. Excuse me. She spread it all over the floor, looking for her phone. She's like, "Where is my phone?" So she went ahead and just pulled over, and so she was looking for her phone, looking down for her phone. So, with some cars, when you put the car in park, all the locks come straight up and your doors are automatically unlocked, right? So this guy walked up to the car. Excuse me, his name is Eli Waters, and he's played by Joey Ibanez, or in the Spanish form, his last name is Ibanez, which is, I love that last name, Ibanez or Ibanez. But anyway, he tries breaking into Jessica's car. Now, he didn't realize, number one, that Jessica was in the car. And number two, he didn't realize that the doors were already unlocked, because he had what I call a jimmy. He had a jimmy trying to get the car door open. So since the door popped right open, Jessica gave him a big 1-2 punch right in his face. She was like, bam. And so, he kind of held his nose for a minute. He was like, no, she did not just hit me in my face. But, he was about to just close the door back and go on about his business when he seen that she was expecting. So she was like, wait, don't leave me. She was, like, I can't drive. She was saying, I can't drive. Please don't leave me. And she was saying, don't hurt me, because she was seeing how he was looking at her after she punched him in the face. So, I guess, guys don't think about what all we really cannot do when we are in pre-labor/labor, like what we cannot hop over. So he tells her, can you hop over the console? Like, hop over the console. I'm like, hop over into the passenger seat. But he was nice enough to at least drive. So he was driving, and as he was driving her to the hospital, he was keeping her mind off of her being in labor. So she was so sweet. Jessica, she was cool. For her to be in labor the way she was cool. She was like, Jessica, my name is Jessica. And he didn't want to give his name. So he just went ahead and talked about, a strategy to keep her mind off of her being in labor. So twists and turns. So you know how I am when I tell you about twists and turns in my other videos. Y'all just got to watch. Twists and turns. In the meantime, Miss Waters, she arrived at the hospital. Miss Waters, I'm talking about Mama Waters now. Mama Waters, she arrived at the hospital and see that Jessica is there. And she arrives with some beautiful flowers. And so David is eager to run out of Jessica's room to go see about the next medical emergency. Now, Jessica hadn't been in her room long, but like I said, it was twists and turns now. But anyway, David, he found out that she was there. And so he had to run out of the room to the next medical emergency. And Miss Waters, she kind of held that son by the arm, and she quickly reminded him, and she said, David, son, she said, listen, Jessica is just not some patient you can just peep in on, check on and say, oh, she fine, and then just run back out. This is your wife. You need to see about her. And so, Miss Waters, she just was not happy with her son. So anyway, after Jessica was able to take a deep breath, she told Miss Waters about Eli. She told Miss Waters about how she got to the hospital. So Miss Waters, of course, didn't know about any of this. So Jessica, she told Miss Waters, she said, can you please do me a favor? She was like, this guy that drove me to the hospital, which he was really trying to steal my car. She said, is there any way you could please find out who he is? Can you find out who he is from? Because he really kept my mind off of having the baby in the car. So Miss Waters, she's so sweet. She was like, baby girl, yeah, she's like everybody's grandma, She was like, baby, yeah, I'm going to find out who this guy is. But I'm just telling you already, for the sake of, I had already seen the movie, that his name was Eli. So let's just say that Jessica, she grew a strong intuition about who was standing behind her in her room. So she had intuition about David being in the room, her husband. And she could feel his presence. She felt her man's presence, and he was just venting to her about everything that's going on in his life, and she was like, yeah, I feel you, I hear you, but just know that I support you on how you're feeling, and I understand how you're feeling, but just do not forget about me. Don't forget about me while you're going through all of this, because I'm trying to be understanding about how you feel about what you're going through, but just don't forget about me in all of this. While you processing your feelings, don't forget about me. So David goes and lets have some nervous energies that he have. So, after they have their little chat, he go and he lets have some nervous energies and take a little swim. And Jessica, she goes and visit the baby. But her husband, he walks up behind her while she is seeing the baby, and he reassures her that the baby is going to be all right. So meanwhile, in the cafeteria, Mama Waters, she knew it was David's break time for him to go in the cafeteria and sit down and eat. And David and his mom pretty much had the kind of, schedule to where they always ate together, like on his break time. So he knew Mama Waters was going to be in the cafeteria, so he sat down and ate with her. And, well, she sat down with him as he was eating. And so Mama Waters, what I like about her is she reassured David that he needs to pay Jessica some attention, because for one, she just had the baby. And, he didn't really want Mama Waters, excuse me, he didn't really want Mama Waters saying anything. So he was like, you and Jessica been talking, huh? Y'all been talking about me? So she was like, let me just say, I'm a mother and I pick up on things, and I'm just trying to tell you, you need to pay your wife some attention. So, of course, this beeper goes off at that point. He's like, yeah, okay, all right, ma, okay. He said, all right. So his beeper goes off. And so she was like, let me remind you that your father, he contributed a lot of time at this hospital. And, she was saying in so many words, we kind of went through the same thing. So don't do Jessica the way your father, did me in so many words. She didn't come on out and say it, but she gave him that feeling of that's what she was trying to say to him. Now, whether he caught on or not, I don't know, because his beep was going off. He was trying to hurry and get to the next medical emergency, because like I say, he's a doctor. So he was like, yeah, okay, ma, all right, ma. So Miss Waters, she go ahead and go home. She leave the hospital, and as she's settling in for the evening, she realized just how much she missed her husband. And she started to reminisce about him because like I said, she had a lot on her mind too. So twists and turns. So Miss Waters, she wanted somebody to talk to. And so she went and talked to Pastor Stevens, which is played by Don Brooks. Now, Miss Waters' husband is named Isaac, and he is deceased. He's deceased in this movie. So he was never living in this movie at all. So, like I said, when she went home, she was just reminiscing about him, especially, going in the closet, seeing his things, having memories. So, she just kind of wanted to talk to somebody about it. So like I said, she went and talked to Pastor Stevens, and somebody that can kind of help her get her mind right about being a widow. Pastor Stevens, he was so sweet, and he said, he said, your late husband was a very good man. And so Pastor Stevens reminded Miss Waters of a scripture that he thought of in the Bible that reminded Miss Waters of how her husband lived, meaning he was a godly man. And he always believed in doing whatever he did by the word of God. Like everything he did, he always had a scripture for what he did. So, that made her feel better. That really made her feel better. But at the same time, Pastor Stevens looked at Miss Waters, and he said, you really didn't come here to talk to me about your husband, did you? And she said, well, she was like, she said, I want to tell you about this guy that I have a concern about. And she was like, his name is Eli, and I just got a concern about him. And so she wanted to start telling Pastor Stevens details about Eli. So at that time, Pastor Stevens wasn't quite ready to hear all the details about Eli that Miss Waters wanted to share. So I'm just going to tell you this. Twists and turns, twists and turns, twists and turns, twists and turns. But it's worth watching to find out about the twists and turns that I'm not going to tell you about at this time. So anyway, Miss Waters and Jessica, Miss Waters, the next day, Mrs. Waters and Jessica, they had a heart-to-heart talk about David. Like I said, which is Mrs. Waters' son. So, Jessica, she has some concerns about David, too, that really bothers her because Jessica, she's still in the hospital. The baby's still in the hospital. Jessica's still in the hospital. So she had some concerns, and she told Mrs. Waters, she said, Mrs. Waters, please keep this in confidence. Please do not mention to David what I'm telling you because it would be a big deal. It would be a real big deal if you repeat to him what I'm saying to you. And Miss Waters, like I say, she cool. She said, Jessica, you do not have to worry about me repeating anything to David about what you're saying, about what you're telling me. So, twists and turns, twists and turns, twists and turns. But Miss Waters, she has a big heart. And so she had to make a big decision when it came to Eli. Okay? And so she just started praying, and she was like, God, I'm just going to trust you on this. I'm going to trust you on this decision that I really need to make because only you can direct me in the right way. So Eli and David, they finally had a chance to meet face to face in Jessica's hospital room. And, Eli's demeanor is still like, I didn't mean to save your wife. I was really trying to take her car. And David picked up on that. He picked up on Eli's, I don't like to use the word vibe or energy, but David could pick up on what Eli was putting down. And so David, he stepped all on Eli's foot. He was like, back up, man, back up. He really didn't even want Eli to be in Jessica's hospital room. I'm like, but David was really rude to Eli. Considering Eli saved his wife's life to where she didn't even have the baby in the car, you would have thought that David would have been like, thank you so much. I really appreciate, you saving my wife's life and getting her here to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Nah, David didn't say any of that. I mean, not a word. He didn't even want Eli in the room. So anyway, so then Miss Waters, she went ahead and put David on blast. She said, listen, while you have your foot in your mouth and being rude to Eli, she said, Eli is going to be staying in your room for a couple of days, so you might want to be nice. And so David wasn't trying to hear that. So Miss Waters, like I said, Miss Waters was like, yeah, Eli going to be in your room temporarily. So Miss Waters, when they got back to the house, when it was just Miss Waters and Eli, she was trying to make Eli feel comfortable. And she said, you know what, Eli, I'm so sorry that David was, excuse me, I'm sorry that he was rude to you in Jessica's room. She said, sometimes grown kids, he in his 30s, he feel like every decision that's made is written in stone and that nothing can change. And so Eli said, I don't even plan on living till I'm 30, let alone talk about, living until you're 30. He was like, I don't even plan on living that long because he was a little young kid. So that's what he told Mrs. Waters. And she was like, okay. She was like, I'm going to have to pray a little bit longer, because Eli talking about he don't plan on even living until he's 30. Excuse me. Twists and turns, twists and turns, twists and turns on that. So, Miss Waters, she made a very important decision that she was unsure about. And so when David came over to the house, he found out about the decision that Miss Waters made. So here it is, he was like, Ma, how you gonna make a decision like what you just made? Like, you know how kids can be nosy sometimes when they come over and they, just start going through your mail or whatever, just looking at papers just laying around on the countertop. And so she said, God has not made it clear to me yet on his plans that he has for the decision that was made. She said, because she prayed about it, but God has not revealed all the plans for the decision that was made. So David, he feel like I can say whatever I want to say to Mama. So he become very disrespectful to Miss Waters. And let me tell you this, Miss Waters, she not slow at all. She was like, you said what now? What did you say? And she put him back in his place. She put her grown son, David, back in this place. Because she was like, you're not going to talk to me like that. I raised you too? Nah. Put you through medical school? No, sir. You will not be talking to me like that. So she got him in check. All right. So Miss Waters, she reached out to Pastor Stevens again for wise counsel. And so Pastor Stevens, he was like, you know what? I hear everything that you're telling me about Eli. But what I'm going to tell you, since you're seeking me for wise counsel, I'm going to tell you to just pray about it. Because that's when you will come up with the right answer on what you're seeking God's face for. Pray about it. Because when you pray, you can't go wrong when you pray. Because God has a way of revealing things to where it's crystal clear on his answer, right? On God's answer. So Miss Waters, she went into her closet, and as she was praying, you know, she started to see her husband's memories. And considering, like I say, him being deceased, you know, she was just really going way back on sometimes they shared together. So meanwhile, back at the hospital, David was sent to one of his patients. And you know how God can relay a message to you through somebody. Or, you know, God can cause somebody to say something to you. And when they say it, even if they don't even know you, it resonates. What they say to you resonates into where it becomes an aha moment, to where you like, ding, 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 like the light bulb comes on. And so the parents of this patient that David was tending to, they made a statement to him. And he was like, wait, I'm glad you said that. I'll be back. So he left out, and he left out of the hospital room, and he went to go check on Jessica. So he runs to the house, Jessica folding up her clothes and make it look like that she's leaving him, like, I'm packing my bags and I'm leaving you kind of thing. So, you know, he started making comments, you know, as if she was going to leave him. And she was like, what are you talking about? And so, you know, David was like, you know, I don't want you to leave me. And she was like, babe, I'm not trying to leave you. I'm packing my clothes and packing a suitcase because I'm going to go up to the hospital and spend some time with the baby. You know, so I don't have to go up there and come right back. And he was like, oh, phew. You know, so she was like, let me reassure you of something, David. I love you. I'm your wife. I love you. I'm not trying to leave you. You know, so that was very sweet, the way she rubbed his back and reassured him that she was there for him. So twists and turns after that statement is what I want to say. I just want to go back and say that God has a way of bringing people together. And towards the end of the movie, you will see Miss Elsaya Vibar. She brings a warm tone to God's compass. And after the last slew of twists and turns, let's just say that the Honorable Judge James Lee, played by Tom Baker, has learned a very valuable lesson. I want to say he learned the most valuable lesson in the whole movie. Because sometimes God got to prove a point to people who don't believe in him. Not saying that the judge didn't, but you make your own assumption and you let me know what you think in the comments after you watch the movie. Okay? All right. So as God's Compass, thank you again for stopping by. Don't forget to comment down below and comment, share, and subscribe. Comment, share, like, and subscribe. All right. All right. Thank you so much. God bless, and see you in the next video. Peace.